Hey, everybody, and welcome back. We are diving into something today, a topic that is as interesting as it is controversial. Skinwalker Ranch.
Here we go.
Right. You might be thinking, oh no, not another UFO story.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. There is a lot of that out there.
A lot of noise.
But this is different. This deep dive is going to be different. We're going beyond aliens.
Yeah.
Okay? We're using a great long-form article from Outside Magazine to guide us.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important distinction to make right off the bat.
Yeah.
Because you're right. This isn't just about grainy photos or, lights in the sky. This is about how we as a society look at things that we don't understand.
Exactly.
And how we investigate them. And especially now as these topics that used to be considered fringe are becoming more and more mainstream.
And who better to guide us through this than the owner of Skinwalker Ranch himself, Brandon Fugal. So when you picture someone who owns Skinwalker Ranch, what do you picture?
I mean, you're thinking like the stereotypical UFO enthusiast.
Exactly.
Right. Maybe
Yeah.
a little eccentric.
Yeah, tinfoil hat.
Exactly.
Okay, so not Brandon Fugal at all.
No, not even close.
Brandon Fugal is like real estate tycoon drives Lamborghinis.
Yeah.
This is someone who is very successful.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a guy who, rubs shoulders with senators and celebrities. This is not somebody who is easily swayed by spooky stories.
Right. This is a man of logic and reason.
Exactly. And yet, after he buys this ranch, he starts seeing UFOs himself.
I know. What?
It makes you wonder, right?
It really does.
Like, if someone like that is questioning what they're seeing, maybe there's something there.
So you've got this high-profile, skeptical businessman, and he buys this ranch that has this reputation. But he doesn't just sit back and wait for the weirdness to happen. He goes all in on investigating.
Oh, yeah, he goes all in.
High-tech cameras, teams of scientists.
Right.
He's even invited the government to come and take a look.
Yeah, it's like he said, okay, something's happening. Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this different from your average ghost hunting show.
Totally.
Because he's using scientific methods, but he's also having these experiences himself.
It's true.
It adds a layer of credibility that you just don't see in a lot of other places. It's not just the tech, though. It's the crazy amount of stuff that happens there.
It's a lot, right?
Yeah, we're talking more than lights in the sky. We're talking about things that mess with people physically, with technology, even weird stuff with animals. The whole ranch is one big question mark.
Yeah. And speaking of weird stuff happening to people, the article talks about this guy, Thomas Winterton, the ranch superintendent.
Right.
And he goes into this job as a total skeptic.
Yeah.
Even kind of cynical about it all. And then suddenly he's hit with this wave of dizziness
Oh, wow.
out of nowhere.
It's wild how that seems to happen to everyone, right?
Yeah.
The ranch has to test you.
Right.
See how much you really believe.
Exactly. And remember how we were talking about the technology going haywire?
Yeah.
Well, the article goes really in depth on the electromagnetic interference at the ranch. Phones, dying drones crashing, even the researchers' own equipment glitching out.
Which makes sense if you think about it. Electromagnetic interference is basically this invisible energy
Right?
that messes with anything electronic.
So it could be natural, right?
Oh, yeah. It definitely can be. But it's also something that people always bring up when they talk about paranormal stuff.
So picture this. You're standing on this huge ranch in the middle of nowhere. You've got all this high-tech gear, LiDAR, infrared cameras, magnetometer.
That's like a sci-fi movie.
Totally. And then your phone dies, your drone goes crazy, and you start to feel like something's watching you.
That's Skinwalker Ranch for you. High tech meets the unexplained.
Exactly. Because if it was just spooky stories and blurry pictures, you could write it off.
Totally.
But then you had these scientists, these people with actual credentials saying, yeah, there's something weird here and we don't know what it is.
That's when you have to start paying attention.
Right. It's like when you're watching one of those UFO documentaries late at night.
With the spooky music.
Yes. And you're about to change the channel, but then they show an interview with some former government official or a scientist who's like, I've seen the evidence and I can't explain it.
That's what gets you.
I know.
Yeah.
And that's what Skinwalker Ranch has going for it.
For sure.
It's not just the events.
Yeah.
It's the people involved. The people who are taking it seriously, trying to figure it out.
People like Brandon Fugal.
It's interesting to me. Fugal could have just kept Skinwalker Ranch to himself.
Right.
Made it like a billionaire's playground.
Yeah.
Invite his rich friends, do whatever he wants.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But he doesn't. He opens it up, invites cameras in. People can watch live feeds from the ranch 24/7.
It's kind of strange, isn't it?
It is. Because on one hand, he wants to figure out what's going on. He's using science. He's being transparent. But then there's the other side. The merchandise, the TV show. Even the live feeds are behind a paywall.
Yeah, you can't ignore that part of it.
It makes you wonder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it about the science or is it about the money?
That's the question, isn't it? And it's not always an easy one to answer.
No, it's not. I
Yeah.
think that's part of what makes Skinwalker Ranch so fascinating, though,
Okay, why?
because it makes us think about how WE react to the unexplained.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like when you were a kid and you looked up at the stars and you realized how big and mysterious everything is.
Yeah,
That feeling of wonder, but also kind of being freaked out a little bit.
I know exactly what you mean. It's like this primal thing in us. You know, every culture has its own myths and legends about stuff they couldn't explain. From ancient stories about gods and monsters to like ghost stories we tell today, we've always been drawn to this stuff.
And that's Skinwalker Ranch. It's that line between what we know and what we don't know.
Exactly. And even with all our technology and science, there are still things out there that we can't explain.
Exactly. So here's a question for you listening. Imagine you get to go to Skinwalker Ranch. What do you do?
Oh, that's a good one.
Are you there to debunk the myths? Are you bringing your scientific equipment? Or do you just want to experience it? You know, feel that sense of wonder and maybe a little bit of fear.
And would it matter if you didn't find any answers?
Right. Or
Yeah.
the experience enough.
It's something we all have to decide for ourselves, I guess.
I think so too.
Mm.
But no matter what you believe, Skinwalker Ranch shows us how much we still want to understand the unknown.
It's true. And who knows? Maybe that's what will lead us to some amazing discoveries in the future.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
If you want to learn more about Skinwalker Ranch, check out the full article in Outside Magazine.
Definitely worth a read.
It's a wild ride. And let us know what you think.
Yeah, we want to hear your theories.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those minds open. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.